The economy ravaged by the coronavirus is passing through a crucial phase and is somewhat starved of liquidity. At the same time, the COVID-19 crisis can and should be viewed as an opportunity, as the world is now taking notice of India as an incredibly desirable investment destination. To shed more light on the subject, we have with us Mahesh Palashikar, President, GE South Asia, who's going to talk about the road that lies ahead through the lens of both challenges and opportunities.
Good afternoon, friends and colleagues. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm thankful to Economic Times for giving us this opportunity to speak about the global infrastructure and the latest trends in terms of the smart cities and the smart infrastructure that all of us would like to make progress on. This is a wonderful opportunity today also to connect with all of you. As we all are going through the COVID pandemic, it is important that we stay focused on the health and safety, but it is also important that we start looking forward. We have to accept the reality of the pandemic that we are currently living through, but it is also important that we start thinking of making forward-looking progress, as this pandemic might be with us for a while before everything gets well. So that is the focus of the messages that we would like to share with you today. Obviously, all of us have seen the significant initiatives that the Prime Minister's office and the Government of India has taken in the last 60 to 90 days. Between May, June, and July, we have seen significant financial relief packages for the industries and sectors and the group of citizens who have been impacted, their employment has been impacted, or their daily earnings have been impacted. We've also seen the clarion call from the Prime Minister Modi in terms of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-reliant India. And it is important that as we look forward into the future and as we look at the global infrastructure that we can shape, and India can play a great role as a nation, and we are proud of it. So in alliance with the Atmanirbhar mission, aligned with the self-reliance aspirations, there is an important topic that all of us can think through and focus our energies and efforts to contribute to the future. And that topic specifically today is, as we see the global infrastructure and the global energy demands changing, the global energy transition happening, all of you are aware that all nations have rallied around, the majority of the economies have rallied around for the Paris Climate Accord. And the Paris Climate Accord really focuses on reducing the carbon emissions, reducing the carbon footprint, reducing the dependence on fossil fuels. It is important that as a country, we have also used a lot of fossil fuels as we have grown as an independent country in the last 70 plus years. But the Prime Minister has been driving great aspiration, and he has been a leading force even at the Paris Climate Accord, as well as the renewable energy aspirations that the Prime Minister has been executing. We are very proud, we are very thankful to the Prime Minister for the renewable energy mission, as the energy rapidly transitions. And the energy transition from fossil fuels to cleaner energy was happening even before COVID, even before January of this year, it was happening. However, suffice it to say that this is now just going to get accelerated. And that is the topic on which we would like to share some important thoughts with you. What we would like to do is bring you our perspectives in terms of the renewable energy, how to make renewable energy more widespread, how to help smoother transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Also, we would like to touch upon three important aspects around this. One is, what are the different options and fuel sources that we have available for renewable energy transition. And this is something we will go a little deeper, sharing our perspective with you. Then, as we consider various options, how do we translate the aspirations and the mission of Atmanirbhar and renewable energy into reality? how do we go about executing? So one would also like to bring some pillars, very important pillars for the nation and for the industry to accelerate this renewable energy transition. Those pillars, we believe, are the pillars which will help us execute well. The third important aspect is, if you look at the fuel options, if you focus on the pillars which will help us execute, how could we derive and what are the benefits the nation could derive, the citizens could derive if we go on the path of this execution. So those are the themes that we would cover today. As you know, the renewable energy has been gaining ground globally. The developed economies, if you look at the Western European economies, if you look at the North American economies, they have been making rapid strides for the last several years. We have also seen it from 2014, the mission that the Prime Minister laid out, and we saw tremendous momentum since 2017 when a lot of the renewable energy power generation has transitioned to reverse auctions. The reverse auctions have been very transparent. The reverse auctions have also helped get more power producers participate in the renewable energy transition. We have also benefited as a nation, as a sector, and as citizens that renewable energy auctions have brought down the cost of power. We typically refer to the renewable energy and the cost of electricity as levelized cost of electricity. Levelized cost of electricity means all the investments and expenses that go in to the power plant investment for setting up the power plant of renewable energy. And then you operate them for a life of 25 years, sometimes more than 25 years. So the operating expenses, so the capital expenditure that goes into it and the operating expenses that go into it, these are the costs. And then over a period of 25 years, you generate a lot of renewable energy from free natural resources. So these are the two elements: what energy you generate, and for that what cost you put determines the levelized cost of electricity. Today, what we would like to focus on and share with you is not just the renewable energy. We all know about it. We have made progress about it. But the renewable energy now is at an inflection point to make it more hybrid renewable energy. So it's not just one fuel source, but several multiple fuel sources. Also, to make it round the clock. Why is it important? Hybrid is important because if you just have wind or solar or hydro as the clean energy sources, they do not give you the power generation and power availability for all 24 hours. There are times in the day when the solar energy gives you power from mid-morning until the late afternoons. Wind starts kicking in late evenings or early evenings, late evenings unto very early mornings, which means there are different times in 24 hours when you can have solar energy being produced or wind energy being produced. But that will not be enough. As the renewable energy percentage of total power generated starts going up from 20-25% to potentially 50% over the next few years, we will also have to see, when you don't have solar power generated and when you don't have the wind power generated in 24 hours, how do you bring other fuels? So first theme that we would like to cover in more details is what are our different fuel options. I have already mentioned wind, which is a natural free resource, and we are making a lot of progress on the technological innovations and the way we execute our projects, whereby the wind levelized cost of electricity keeps continuously coming down. The first reverse auctions happened in India in February 2017. And from that time until today, you all have seen in the public domain how the wind energy prices in the reverse auctions continue to go down. They are helped by the better wind resource optimization at the sites. They are helped with the wind technology that we bring through the wind turbines. They are also helped with better digital services that we can offer for these renewable energy power plants. So wind is first resource. Solar obviously is a great resource, and our nation in India is blessed with rich solar resources. We have also historically done hydropower plants, and hydro is another natural resource. There are some pockets where you have significant water resources which could be pooled. We can have construction of dams, and that hydropower can also be third resource of renewable energy. In addition to that, if you want to make renewable energy more firm, meaning the grid cannot take just wind and solar for some hours of the day, you will need much more stable grid for the 50 hertz frequency. And for that, now there are potential options and technology solutions available that you can also leverage the assets which are available in India. We have large gigawatts of coal power plants which are currently already installed. The capital expenditure has happened. So the fourth resource that can help a little bit of grid stability and expand the hybrid power generation to more hours in the day could be the coal power plants. We also have the ability of the natural gas power plants. We also have combined cycle power generation, whereby you have coal and natural gas resources generating combined cycle power. These are more efficient combined cycle power plants. So in addition to wind, solar, hydro, now we could and we should and we must also look at the coal power plants and the natural gas power plants. Suffice it to say, all these fuels will need significant hybrid control systems, hardware and software to integrate all of them together. So it is important that we look at the 5 fuel resources that we mentioned, but we also integrate them with smart technologies that the hybrid control systems and the advanced softwares can bring, whereby you can control what is the power demand. You can control which source is the most efficient source and which source is the best optimal source to use during the time of the day based on what demand you have, what supply you have, and then deliver to the grid stable hybrid power. Then as we look at the solar and wind power, which is only few hours in the day, it is also important that you store that power. So the storage of these renewable energy sources is also important. So this is the entire mix, but don't forget that we will also need smart grid. We will also need grid technologies. We would need grid balancing. We would need grid firming, and those solutions for digital grid technologies are also important. So this is the complete basket of offerings of different fuel options and technologies and hybrid integration that we will have to put to use. The other thing which is important is, as we look at all these options and as we increase the penetration of renewable energy for Indian consumption, let us see what it needs to execute. So when you look at the options, one would also like to highlight the pillars that we have to strengthen to execute. And these pillars exist. It is not to say that these pillars are not there, but we have to look at the pillars in terms of the policies, the MNRE policies, the Ministry of Power policies, the Government of India policies, which would help make this transition faster, smoother, and most efficient for the country, where it is not going to disrupt various capacities of the different fuels that we already have installed. And the government is doing a lot of that work, but we will need to strengthen and we will need to accelerate some of that policy work. The other piece which is also important is we will need some structural reforms, because we cannot forget the existing resources while we add the new renewable energy resources. These could be in the form of the land reforms. These could be in the form of some of the power sector reforms. These could be in the form of some of the labor reforms. So reforms, another pillar that we will need to strengthen if we have to execute our aspirations for superior, cleaner infrastructure and the renewable energy which brings the cost of electricity down. The third pillar which is important is the national government policies and the state government policies will need more and more synchronization. They will need to work more and more hand-in-hand coordination, because these are concurrent topics between the national government and the state governments. And for us to execute these well, it is important that we get continuous support from the national government and state government synchronization. It is also important that we get stronger project financing solutions. There are a lot of equity investors who are interested in Indian market and in the renewable energy progress that we will make over the next several decades. But the project funding, the project financing, the debt that the project infrastructure companies will need, the power producers will need, is another pillar that we will need to strengthen. And these are some of the areas that I think we will keep voicing and we will keep improving further. And then there is the pillar of technology. Obviously, as General Electric, we take a lot of pride. We probably are the most unique and differentiated technology leading company who could bring the different fuels, wind, hybrid, coal, natural gas, grid technology, the integration of all of these to make this a more digitally efficient and a competitive cost of electricity solution. But technology is a pillar that we can't forget as we go about our execution. There are huge benefits for the nation. The first and foremost benefit that we can easily relate is this is going to make nation more secure in terms of our energy dependence. The more and more fossil energy that you need to import, you obviously have more expenditure for imports. You need to use the precious foreign exchange. All of that could be saved over a period of next few years or next few decades if we are self-reliant, if we are self-sufficient with these natural resources. Wind is available of our own in the country. You don't need to import, you don't need to spend money. Same with solar, same with some of the other resources and assets that we already have. Same with the hydro resources, and the technology capabilities can very well be developed in the nation by the technology companies and the digital service companies who can reduce the cost of electricity. So the first and foremost is the self-reliance for energy security, self-reliance and savings in foreign exchange. It also allows us a leading position as a nation, as a continuously growing economy, as one of the largest growing GDP potentially as we come out of the pandemic in the world, and one of the largest democracies that can contribute to cleaner future for our generation, but also for the future generations. So the cleaner atmosphere, cleaner energy, smarter cities, lesser and lesser carbon footprint, lesser and lesser emissions is an obvious benefit. One doesn't need to elaborate more. The third thing is there are commitments as a nation we have made to the Paris Climate Accord, and these renewable energy, hybrid, round-the-clock transitions would also allow us to deliver on those. The cost of electricity will continue coming down as we use all of these resources and make it more affordable, make it more cleaner, make it more easily available and flexible for our source using all of the renewable energy sources. So suffice it to say, I think there are tremendous benefits. We have a lot of fuel options. We will definitely need to translate this as per the Prime Minister's mission on renewable energy. There is a mission of 450 gigawatts of renewable energy to be installed by 2030. And hopefully today, the options of various fuels, the technology and the hybrid and the round-the-clock that we have expressed to you, the pillars that will need to take us to execute this successfully, to be a successful leading nation and bring down the cost of electricity, the carbon footprint, and make it cleaner future, affordable future, and the benefits that all of you have seen resonate with you. Hopefully they make sense to you. We obviously will continue doing our part. We are very proud. We have significant technology leading offerings in all these areas. We stay focused on this to enable a cleaner future and help the nation become more self-reliant. This is again a fantastic opportunity coming out of the pandemic. We will accelerate these efforts. I would like to take this opportunity again to urge all of you to stay focused on the health and safety of yourselves, your families, your companies, your enterprises, your colleagues. And once again, this is a fantastic opportunity that Economic Times has provided us. We are grateful to them, we are thankful to them, and we will continue supporting these initiatives, as we mentioned, for renewable energy, cleaner, round-the-clock, hybrid solutions for a smarter, cleaner, and more self-reliant India. Thank you for listening to us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.
This is an opportunity for nations to reboot and relearn the basics under changed realities, as the parameters for success are redrawn entirely. So do share your feedback across each session with us. And as you know, you can also share your views via social media using the hashtag ET Global Town Hall.